Tiny Steps, Big Achievements, The Power of Incremental Progress, brought to you by my book that's available on Amazon. It's a financial autobiography by Patrick Claremont. And today we're in chapter 1 of the book, which I am reading without editing. Hopefully it's not too annoying. And if it is, well, I guess you're going to go somewhere else. All right, chapter 1, Nutshell. This is who I am. Your lifetime is the only thing you truly own. P. Claremont. That's me, by the way. I don't know if anybody else has said that, but I just said it, so I took the credit for it. All right, here we go. I was 13 years old, and summer vacation had just begun. My family and I lived in low-income housing strata, where I spent most of my days playing outside. One morning, I was walking around our neighborhood and happened to see a motorcycle sitting in someone's backyard. It had a flat tire, the handlebars were all rusted up, and the muffler looked like Swiss cheese. I made my way through the long grass and walked over to the bike. I pulled it away from the fence and sat on it. Wow, I wish this was my bike, I thought to myself. Let me take you back 1 year. I was 12 years old, and my sister was dating a guy who had his own motorcycle. My mom happened to be out of town visiting her sister, and I was left alone with my sister. As luck would have it, her boyfriend wanted to have some private time with her and wanted me out of the way. He figured that if he taught me to ride his motorcycle, I would be more than happy to leave them alone. Turns out, he was right. And anytime my mom wasn't around, I had a motorcycle to ride. I loved the freedom of hitting the trails with a full tank of gas. It was a great opportunity to leave everything behind. It was awesome. Every time I returned home, I found myself wishing for my own bike. So I sat on this old broken down 1972 Suzuki 185 and dreamed of being on the trails. After 15 or 20 minutes, I got off and walked away. There's no way that bike would ever be mine. About half a block away, I stopped and turned back. What if the bike was just a piece of crap? What if the owner just wanted to get rid of it? Maybe I could take it away and help them with their problem. I walked back and knocked on the door. Buddy came to the door and I asked him about the bike. He said I could have it for $50. $50? I knew it was a great deal, but it might as well have been $1,000. Where was I going to get $50? My mom had 5 kids and could barely spare 25 cents. I walked around for a while trying to figure out how to get this bike. I couldn't tell anyone about it because I didn't want anyone knowing it was for sale. I went home and found my mom and her boyfriend sitting in the backyard enjoying the summer sun. I told my mom about the motorcycle and how I needed $50 to buy it. She told me there was no way she would let me have a motorcycle, let alone the $50 to buy one. After all, $50 back then was like $135 today. And when you have to feed 5 children, buying a murder cycle for her 13-year-old son was not how my mom was about to invest her money. I told her how unfair it was that I couldn't have a motorcycle, and after whining and complaining, she said that if I could find the $50 to buy the bike, she'd let me have it. Of course, she knew there was no way in hell her 13-year-old son would ever be able to scrape together $50. Remember, this was 1982, minimum wage was $2, and the unemployment rate was 13%. My mom felt safe and secure in her decision. There was no possible way in her mind that her son would manage to save up $50, let alone 50 cents. I left feeling sad, but also slightly hopeful. I was halfway to owning a motorcycle. I mean, I did get permission. And all I needed now was the money. I walked around most of that day trying to figure out how to get my hands on $50. I could have a yard sale and sell everything I own. That would still leave me $49.50 short. So after a morning of moping, I eventually found myself playing street hockey, trying to forget all my foolish dreams. Later that day, I made my way back home and puttered around the house. My mom's boyfriend could see that I was still working on ideas of how to make the money I needed. He called me over and offered up some advice. He suggested I get a job. Now, where was I going to get a job? I didn't know anyone my age with a job in my circle. And in my circle, if you wanted something, you asked your parents. If that didn't work, you stole it. I woke up the next day with hopes of finding a way to own that beautiful rundown motorcycle. I went to my mom's boyfriend and asked him for guidance. He suggested I go see the neighbor. The neighbor? Why would I ask the old guy next door for a job? The guy's yard looks like a junkyard. The only thing that place was good for was a place to play adventure games, as long as you didn't get caught. He suggested I go knock on his door and ask him if he had any work I could do. Tell him you're willing to do whatever he needs, he said to me. I was nervous about going over and never expected to get a job out of it, but at least I could tell Jerry, the boyfriend, that I tried. I knocked on the door, and this old guy in his 60s answered the door. I told him I was looking for a job and that I'd do anything. He asked me why, and I told him about the motorcycle. He said he did have a job, but it was only for a couple of days' worth of work. He also said that I would need a letter of consent from my mom before he would let me work for him. At first, my mom said no, but Jerry convinced her that it would be safe and that I'm turning the page here, a few days of work would be good for me. Since my mom couldn't read, write, or speak English, Jerry wrote the note and my mom signed it. I would start working the next day. I woke up early in the morning, excited about making money. The old man set me up with a pipe cutter and a pile of pipes. He rolled over a couple of empty oil barrels and told me to cut the pipe into 4-inch pieces until I filled up 2 barrels. I'll give you $60 a barrel, he said. You should be able to do one a day. $60 a barrel? I don't think there's any way my face hid the joy and amazement of his words. To this day, I have no idea why he offered me so much money. But, true to his word, he gave me $60 at the end of the first day. I ran to my buddy's place, gave him $50, and dragged the bike home with me. I went back the next day, made another $60, and that's all he ever saw of me. Not only did I have enough money to buy the bike, I had enough money to cover oil and gas for the entire summer. My sister's boyfriend helped me fix the flat tire, and as for the Swiss cheese muffler, I used a few heavy-gauge steel pop cans and a couple of metal hose clamps. Even back then, I was building crap. See my YouTube channel, NetNamo Building Crap with Chip, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I still build crap. Hell, this book is building crap. A couple of days later, I was the proud owner of a drivable motorcycle. Even back then, I was time motivated. I was a time motivated person. I spent all of my life trying to figure out how to work just enough to meet my needs. Free time is still the most important thing to me. It's not that I don't work hard. I just want to work hard as little as possible. As it turns out, this whole book is about how I worked to buy my future self free time. When I moved out at 18, I got a job that gave me just enough hours to cover my rent, insurance on my motorcycle, and a bit of food and, of course, a case of beer and a pack of smokes every weekend. Sadly, I didn't always know my boundaries, and at one point, I ended up homeless for about 6 months or so. But that's another story for another time, and maybe I'll write a little book about that someday. Looking back on my life, I can clearly see that autonomy of time has always had a priority over money. I just didn't become fully conscious of the fact of that until I was in my 40s. Many people have asked me, if time is my motivator, why do I talk about money all the time? My answer is that I need money to buy my future self time. I do this by investing and creating as many passive income streams as I can. Ergo, free time is my true motivator. I think that's the end of this chapter, kids. Let me just I'm having a hard time turning this page. No, I got a little quote here. It's really clear that the most precious resource we have is time. And that's by Steve Jobs. All right, kids. Next time we talk, it'll be Chapter 2, Brain Waves. It's just how my brain works. Oh, boy. Geez, let's hope that's a short chapter, eh? Oh, it is. You know what? I'm just going to read it for you, kids. Are you ready? Okay, Chapter 2. It's like half a page here. Anyways, nobody is superior. Nobody is inferior. But nobody is equal either. People are simply unique, incomparable. You are you, I am me, says Osho. All right. Have you ever done a puzzle maze? I have always found it easier to find my way out by starting from the finish line and making my way to the start. Some say that doing so is cheating because the puzzle was built to be started at the start and finished at the finish line. I never accepted that. Whenever I was given a puzzle, I would set my pencil down at the start and try. Then, after a couple of attempts, I'd head to the finish line and work my way backwards to the starting point in no time flat. Who knew my retirement plan would work out the same way? We are all different. That's what makes us the same. Anonymous. Okay, now it's done because Chapter 3 is a few pages. It's called Plan Z, May 2001 in the beginning. So if you want to come back and hear some of that, feel free to come back next time I make an audio thingy. I hope you enjoy it. If you want to read my book, it's called Tiny Steps, Big Achievements, The Power of Incremental Progress, available on Amazon. Or you can just stay tuned here and just keep listening to me blab on about it. And if not, go buy the book. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.